There are few, if any, cars that are more instantly recognisable by their shape alone than the car parked ever so neatly to my right. A global cultural icon, one might argue. Influential, absolutely. In fact, it was voted to be the second most influential automobile of all time, just behind the Ford Model T. And when you delve into it, you really can see why. So let's just do that. Hello and welcome to a proper classic Mini. Yes, today you join me with a true icon of the motoring and popular culture world, dressed ever so nicely in its mustard suit. It's a 1972 Morris Mini 850, and we're going to have a proper look around it inside and out, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the model in general and what I think about this absolutely epic little thing. So let's crack on with it. Born as a result of the fallout from the 1952 Suez fuel crisis, this tiny little car rather impressively had a massive impact on the automotive world and how we would go on to design and develop cars. It's an incredibly significant thing, arguably one of the most significant of all time, and it's the brainchild of legend Alec Issigonis. You see, Mr. Issigonis was given the rather important task of designing a small, frugal, cheap-to-run car, and this is what he came up with. It's something of an engineering marvel, a really clever design overall, and that's thanks to a few different things. The main of which being it utilises a transversely mounted engine which exclusively powers the front wheels, maximising space inside here. So even though this is a tiny little thing, as you can see, it doesn't feel that small inside. There's still plenty of room for the whole family, you can argue. There were lots of other things that made this a clever design though. It wasn't just the transversely mounted engine and the front wheel drive layout. No, at the rear we had conical suspension, which was a revolutionary thing that maximised space for rear seat occupants and took up a lot less room overall than the traditional rear suspension setup. Pair that with the fact that the wheels were as far to the corner front and rear as they could be, which both improved driver engagement on the road and once again maximised space, and you had other well thought out things. You take this boot for instance. It's hinged at the bottom so you can put as much cargo in as possible and have it overflowing and still drive without having to worry about your boot flapping around. It really was a very well thought out thing. You can tell Alec Issigonis really did care about this design. What was born with the Mini was one of the most significant automobiles of all time. It was an instant success, with people immediately recognising the intelligence of the design when it was first introduced in the late 1950s. It sold in massive numbers and still to this day remains one of the most successful cars of all time, and in fact in one form or another is still being built. You can still go to a Mini dealership and buy a new Mini, though they are not particularly Mini anymore, and they are quite a lot of BMW underneath, but we won't get into that here and now. When they were first introduced, the Mini was sold under the Austin and Morris marks, both sub-companies of British Leyland, and as time went on, it became its own mark in its own right in the late 1960s, 1969 in fact. The Mini would find itself treated to a fair few tweaks, facelifts and special editions over the years. The original being the Mark 1, that's the one that everyone seems to want at the moment. It's the one that's making big bucks in the enthusiast market. Then you had the Mark 2, and then this, the Mark 3, spanning from 1969 to 1976. The Mark III was the first one to have real major changes, significant changes, so much so to the body shell that they changed the factory designation from ADO 15 to ADO 20. But that's a bit anarchy and boring, so I won't get too much further into that. There were a few different ways to tell this apart from an earlier Mini, the main one being here. Internally mounted door hinges. Prior to this, they had all been external. The other one being these windows. For the first time in the UK, you could get your Mini with wind-down windows. Exotic, I know. Prior to this, though, all you had was sliding two-panel windows. Australia got them a little bit earlier than us, but now in the UK, I could have wind-down, keep-fit windows with my Mini. Simplicity, I think, is the first thing that comes to mind when I get inside a classic Mini like this, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've got plenty of room for my legs and my head, whether I'm in the front or the back, believe it or not. You don't feel, as I said earlier, like you're in a particularly small car in here. It's very well laid out. I've got acres of storage. I've got storage up here. I've got storage bins in the rear. It really is a well-engineered thing. I've got a nice, comfortable two-spoke steering wheel, two sets of gauges, and some things to play with down here. I even have a sun visor, though that is just for me. My passenger doesn't get one of those. Now, a lot of this comes down to the fact that this is is an 850 Mini, which means it's a very standard basic entry-level spec. The higher capacity, higher specification cars did come with a bit more, but even this one does come with a factory heater. Earlier 850s didn't even have that as a luxury. It was only with a little bit into Mk3 production that the heater became standard fare for every Mini you bought. And here lies the beating heart of this little Mini, the belly of the beast, if you will. An 848cc, four-cylinder, transversely mounted, front-wheel drive engine setup. Original Mini concepts were penned to have a 948cc engine, but that was brought down in capacity to make it more realistic, more frugal, more economical. It's a very, very highly regarded engine. Yes, it's underpowered at 33 brake horsepower. It is dwindling in that figure, but it's still good for 75 miles an hour or thereabouts. That's what they claimed when it was sold new. And it does have a lovely revvy quality to it. It's endlessly reliable, and because they made so many of them, and this engine was utilised in different models over the years, parts are readily available. They're not in short supply. It's the characteristic Mini engine, this, for me. The later ones had a 1275cc higher capacity thing, but I think this is what it's all about. It's got sunny all of a sudden, so I'm taking advantage of that to get the 850 out on the road. Let's see what this little Mini's like. A raspy little four-cylinder engine and a 4-speed manual gearbox. Sometimes you just can't beat it. As you can probably already tell, I am grinning ear to ear. I love these little things. There's a reason everyone loves the classic Mini. They're so much fun to drive, even by today's standards. And I think the cars like this, the little underpowered 850s and the small non-tuned ones, are actually more fun to drive. I'm not fighting with abundances of torque steer and fine fettle tuning. It's just a double-digit horsepower figure, a 4-speed manual box, and a foot flat to the floor pretty much. It's so much fun and it's so rewarding. Performance, well, there isn't exactly tons of it, but what there is good fun. You put your foot down, and as I say, you pretty much leave it there for the rest of your drive. You've got a great engine though. It's a 4-speed manual box, as I've said. The throws are quite long, but it's still quite an engaging drive. It's good fun. Road holding is as you'd expect for a tiny little car on 10-inch wheels. It's quite point and shoot go-kart-esque, though it does feel a little bit vague and a little bit wobbly in the road ruts on a bigger country lane like this. But there's no getting around it. It's a nimble little thing. I'm doing a sharp little U-turn here, and it's of absolutely no stress to the little Mini. It's quite comfortable as well, to be honest. It's a little bit better than I expected. It's not the smoothest. You can probably see me bumping up and down a little bit on this slightly uneven road, but overall the seats, I really have sunken into them to an extent. You could definitely do a longer journey in a car like this. God, you can't help but love a classic Mini, especially one like this. Well, the sun is setting, so I better make this quick before it gets too dark. What do I think of this classic Mini 850? Well, I really like it. I think this personifies exactly what the original Minis were all about. Simplicity, economy, nothing more. There's no lavishness, there's no exuberance, but yet it still remains a very fun car to drive. A lot of people say this with just shy of 35 horsepower is a little bit underpowered, but if you're not doing masses of miles or extended journeys, I don't think you're going to be too much affected by that. It remains a very engaging car. It's revvy, it sounds fun, and it looks incredibly cool. It really is a staple of popular culture, this thing, and this lovely mustard example is a very period car, still highly original inside, outside. It's a really charming thing, and I am very much enamored by it. I really do enjoy this. Obviously, I would say if you're going to get into one of these, the higher capacity, higher spec cars do demand more money, but that doesn't mean these have almost been forgotten a little bit, and you can get one at a really good price point. So I'd jump on it while you still can. Thank you very much for watching the video review of this lovely little mustard Mini. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you like this sort of thing, please check out our other video reviews.